agents and AI, agents are only as effective as the systems they have access to and the workflows and data that they can use. So it's this idea of exposing that composable foundation to agents, and this idea of actionability is something that we're really championing as we move forward. But it's not all easy. There are of course challenges involved as well as we make this transition from composability to actionability, and it affects everyone in kind of the IT organization. For developers, means there's a lot of emphasis on the speed of deployment, doing a lot of things with generative AI. The expectation is that you're developing and building things really quickly. There's a lot of new tools, which LLM, which model is the best for this, which is the best for that. You have to learn a lot of new concepts that can be quite technical and kind of understand the best-in-class use cases. And then you have to understand all of that holistically, have an encapsulated understanding of all of these new tools while incorporating that with speed. It can be quite challenging. And then for the CIOs, the leadership in IT, they need to maintain visibility. They really need to understand all of these different applications, how they all work together. They need to drive adoption and make sure everyone's using these tools in the correct way. And of course, ensuring security, which is easier said than done when it's like the Wild West of a new technological era. So yeah, definitely some challenges in this transition. But MuleSoft, luckily for you, MuleSoft customers, we're thinking about these things all the time. Pretty much every day, this is what we're thinking about. So we have got you covered. And broadly speaking, this is how we're thinking about it. You'll probably see an updated version of this at Dreamforce, but for now, I think this is a really good representation of our approach in this agentic era, building on a foundation of composability and developing incredibly quickly with agentic and AI-driven tools. And then on top of that, system actionability, connectability, using things like MCP and A2A to expose that foundation so that your agents and AI have access to those systems. And then layering that on top is, of course, the governance, the security, the control, the management that you need for things like multi-agent and orchestration architectures. So that's the big picture stuff. We're here to talk about Dev Agent and vibe coding. So we're going to be focusing more so today on that final layer, that build layer. And let's dive into it. So hands up in the room if you have heard the term vibe coding. You can say in the chat as well. Everyone, pretty much everyone in the room has heard of vibe coding. I'm sure on the chat as well, you've probably heard about it. Vibe coding is this new industry term that's kind of encapsulating more natural language driven development, as opposed to development of the past, where it was very syntactical. It was very focused on planning and ensuring everything fits together before you start doing the development work. Now it's very much driven by the AI in the driving seat for the technical component, and you just kind of vibing along. It's a big thing in Salesforce as well. I found out today that Slack have a tool called Vibe Cody, Cody being the bear mascot, which I wish I thought of that. What a great name. Yeah, there's a thing across Salesforce, across the industry. It's the new way of thinking about development with AI. But it doesn't come challenges, especially if you're working with something like MuleSoft, because these generative applications, they might not work, with the Mule ecosystem if you're taking certain models off the shelf, and they might just be, writing the code. A big part of, the value of MuleSoft is around the orchestration. It's around the configurability. It's around all the other actions you can take in the software development lifecycle. They might not have considerations if data is secure or private, which is of course incredibly important with very business critical applications like the ones that MuleSoft generally is used for. And again, they focus more on generating new assets. A big part of the MuleSoft value is about the reuse of the assets you already have. And that's because fundamentally, they don't really understand your IT ecosystem. They don't have that encapsulated knowledge of your MuleSoft outlay. So these are the challenges. And I think it pays to just talk about the fact that every single AI vendor right now is saying speed, 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 speed. It's all about development speed, getting things out quicker. It's the era of efficiency. And of course, speed does win. We definitely saw this as part of the previous era of digital transformation and the cloud era. Speed is, of course, incredibly important. But I think it's more important to add a kind of asterisk here in that speed wins when this code or the things that you're generating, the output, is production ready. Because if the output isn't ready to hit the ground as you generate it, if it doesn't have that quality, you're going to spend more time just looking back over it, making sure it works, making sure it aligns to perhaps your priorities or configurations. And you need to be able to hit the ground running. And I think, as I say, this is incredibly important specifically for MuleSoft customers, because they operate mainly in a lot of the most highly regulated areas like banking. I know Siobhan's in healthcare, shout out to Siobhan. Hallucinations and errors, it's just a non-starter with generative code. So yeah, this is incredibly important. I think because of that, the question becomes, what if Vibe code was scalable and secure for business critical applications like APIs and integrations? So that is the question. And we would like to think, as a curtain drop moment, the answer is MuleSoft Dev Agent, which is our new product. Yeah. So this is, Mofi is the product manager for this. That's why she's here. So yeah, huge news that we're announcing this, going to be GA'd at the end of this week. This is our Vibes that scale. It is our approach to building efficiently with AI, with an agent specifically designed for enterprise level integration. And when we were building this product, we really foundationally thought about it across these 3 different pillars. And that's, first of all, elevating productivity, not necessarily platforming speed immediately. It's about that productivity of having a single agentic interface that can do the entire software development lifecycle. It's not just about development. It's all of the orchestration and configurations and logistics that are involved in the entire software lifecycle. It's about eliminating guesswork, and that means that this agent has the contextual understanding of your ecosystem. It's going to give you that insight, and just having that understanding means you can make the correct decisions and act faster. And then finally, yes, of course, delivery speed. Can't get away from it. It's the big thing about AI. It's always going to be part of that conversation, but it's delivery speed, not in terms of generation, but around the production-ready quality of the code, and that enables you to simplify complexity. And we'll talk about how we achieve that production-ready code a little bit later in the presentation. So yeah, going through the different aspects of MuleSoft Dev Agent, of course, it's kind of for all the different profiles we think in the software development lifecycle. For design, you can feed this agent your archetypes, your standard configurations, your governance settings as a baseline, and then all of the generations are going to be spawned off that, and so you can kind of hit the ground running, as I say, with the generation. It's going to be tailored to your business and the standards that you hold your generative code to. When you get to development, of course, it can generate things like API specs, data weave transformations. You can connect your MCP servers and generate MCP servers for your applications as well. App logic, coming a little bit later, not as part of this GA, is also MUnit testing. I've yet to meet someone who enjoys writing tests. Maybe they're out there. Oh, we actually got a hand in the room. Well, yeah, it's getting automated as a way. It's up to you if you use it though, But yeah, that's a popular feature we have as well. Then the management, as I said, a big value of MuleSoft is the ability to have this marketplace of all of your different applications, like on Exchange. You can understand your outlay, you can reuse assets, all via this kind of natural language conversation back and forth. You can get metrics around reusability. You can apply policies. Again, this is all via a single agentic experience, this entire software development lifecycle. And then operations, there's a lot of new technologies. Things are going to go wrong, but having an agent that lets you find the proverbial needle in the haystack of logs. Again, do you like reading logs as well? And you like generating tests? Do you read logs? It depends is the answer. Yeah, if it crashes, yeah. If it's a disaster, then it can be a bit stressful. But yeah, it's having this agent that's kind of in the co-pilot seat to help you manage those issues as they arise and make you be proactive rather than reactive. And as I said, this is kind of targeted. We really think it's beyond just the development idea, having a development tool. It's for admins, it's for architects, it's for developers, it's for the operations. It's really that, again, I keep saying this, but it bears repeating, that single agentic experience that consolidates all of these different components of the MuleSoft platform via this natural language interface. So yeah, very exciting. And I believe now it's time to see a demo. So I'm going to hand over to Mofi, and I can switch around. There we go. Yeah.
But Aston did a great job of describing, putting into words what exactly Dev Agent does, but we also always like showing a demo, so it becomes very clear what we're trying to accomplish with Dev Agent. And so here I am in Visual Studio Code. I'm not in Cursor, I'm not in Windsurf, I'm in Visual Studio. And I've installed Anypoint Code Builder. And for folks who are familiar with Anypoint Code Builder, the traditional experience within Anypoint Code Builder. But now I also have access to the Dev Agent panel on the right over here. And this Dev Agent panel, again, is your natural language interface for interacting with all of your Mule ecosystem. You can use it to create applications, but you can also use it to manage them, to search for applications, to deploy applications, so forth and so on. The great thing about Dev Agent, compared to other AI capabilities we've launched so far, is that it understands your project context. It can read your files, it can directly edit your files. It is also MCP enabled, which means that customers can connect their own MCP servers to extend the capabilities of Dev Agent, or use that we provide out of the box to interact with your entire Mule footprint. Again, all of these capabilities baked right into Dev Agent. You can also choose to install MCP servers from the marketplace, or again, connect your own MCP servers that you're building with MuleSoft or outside of MuleSoft. Dev Agent also has what we call rules, and these rules are specific guidance that you want Dev Agent to use as part of taking action or doing generations within the product. This is where you can feed in things like, I want my error handlers to look a certain type of way, or other instructions to the agent, again, that controls the generation. Dev Agent also allows you to add a ton of file context. So if you want to add in logs, for instance, or if you want to add in technical requirement documents, or even mapping sheets to feed in as context to Dev Agent, we support all of that as input right within the context window. It has two modes. There's a first mode plan, where it's going to show you the things that it would do given a user prompt. But the more interesting mode is the act mode, where it's actually going to take action based on the user prompt. And so I'm going to send a prompt to generate an MCP server, and you're going to see a couple of different things happening. One, it's going to start building out my Mule project, but it's also going to start generating the integration with the required connectors and operations based on my user prompt. As it does this, it's going to take in all of the response from our AI pipelines and then start populating the project with all of that context. On the left is where any content is being deleted. On the right is where content is being added. Again, all of this content directly edited by the Dev Agent. After the Dev Agent is done, it's really easy to review the content either by toggling the UI, the Canvas UI in Anypoint Code Builder, or going through all the file changes that Dev Agent did in the window here on the right. So there's a lot that we just covered, but I think the big piece to take away is that Dev Agent is an evolution from the AI capabilities that we've had so far. And again, bringing all of the capabilities of Mule, abstracting the complexity through a natural language-driven experience directly in Anypoint Code Builder.
Yep.
Awesome. So Aston asked a very important question before, which is, why would you want to buy with Mule, right? And this is a question that we get from a lot of customers, so we don't take offense to it. It's a very important question to ask. And the reason is that we put a lot of effort into making sure that what you get out from our AI capabilities actually work within the Mule ecosystem. How many of you folks have gone to ChatGPT and asked for it to help you in generating anything? Did it work the first time? For folks online, everyone here is shaking their head. There's no camera, so you can't see the reaction in the room. And the reality is that Mule is, unlike some other languages, Mule is a very special language. It's a language that we love, but it's also a language that a lot of LLMs aren't built for, quite frankly. They're not optimized for. And so within MuleSoft, we have what we call the MuleSoft AI quality pipelines. And what we're doing is working with our AI team to build an AI optimized pipelines for Mule generation. We use a number of different ML techniques. It's actually a patented approach that we have over here. But what it's doing is two things. One, it makes sure that what you get out of our AI products actually work within the Mule ecosystem. And then second, it makes sure that it meets your requirements. We evaluate those two things in terms of validity. Again, does it actually work within MuleSoft? And correctness. Is it doing what you asked it to do? So here's our trusty graphs, and this is to show you that we did the work in evaluating our capabilities against other vendors. But here's a quick snapshot of comparing our capabilities to other vendors. On the left, in the green and the dark blue, or the light blue rather, you see our pipelines in terms of validity and correctness. And then in the purple and the dark blue, you see other capabilities or LLMs directly, like GPT, Claude Sonnet, etc. And pretty much across the board, you'll see that the two left bars are greater than the two right bars. And that's to say that the quality of generation coming from our pipelines is just better. And this is a very objective evaluation that we've done. We've taken over almost 850 different use cases, and then we run our capabilities against other capabilities, and we just show the numbers. And the numbers are super clear for us. Again, Mule is just generating better code. Another slice of this data is this graph over here. Again, in the bottom left, you have, okay, if I go to an LLM like GPT, what's the quality of the code that I'm getting from GPT? If I go to MuleSoft AI capabilities, what's the quality of code that I'm getting? And I don't know about you, but I like being in the top right for a lot of different things, and that's exactly what we're seeing here. The Mule capabilities are just generating better quality code, meaning more valid and more correct code than going directly to LLMs like GPT, Claude Sonnet, etc. We're building capabilities for the Mule ecosystem and the Mule DSL. Awesome. So as part of this Dev Agent release, we're also very excited to announce changes to how we're making these capabilities available. So for folks who are familiar with Einstein credits, we are changing the way that Einstein credits work within MuleSoft because we want to make sure that all of our customers are able to get access to these capabilities. What does this mean? This means that Dev Agent will not require Einstein credits. Dev Agent will be a round of applause. Yeah. Awesome. Dev Agent will be available to any Anypoint platform customer with an Einstein-enabled org. Okay. But it will not require credits, either Flex credits or Einstein requests. It will just be available to Anypoint customers. This is going to be also stay true for Exchange. So if any folks are using Exchange for documentation generation, the same applies there as well. It will not require Einstein requests or Flex credits. It will just need an Einstein-enabled organization. So we've talked a lot about capabilities that are coming, but I did want to flash some of the things that we've released within MuleSoft. As a bit of a refresh before Dreamforce comes out, you guys get swarmed by a ton of new exciting announcements from MuleSoft. The first being MCP support, which is now GA. So for folks who are not familiar, although MCP does feel like it's everywhere at this point, MCP is Model Context Protocol, and quite simply, it allows your agents to talk to your APIs. At Mule, we baked in MCP support into the platform so that you can take any of your existing assets, your APIs, and make them available as MCP servers so that agents can take action using those capabilities and those assets. Again, this is GA now, and an important piece of becoming agent ready or beginning your journey in the agentic transformation. We also announced MuleSoft Your Way. And for folks who have been here for the MuleSoft Your Way announcements, Dev Agent might seem like a very interesting counter to MuleSoft Your Way. So what is MuleSoft Your Way? MuleSoft Your Way was us making our capabilities available in modern IDEs like Cursor and Windsurf. And we wanted to do so because the reality is that developers will always have the IDE that they want to use, right? If I'm a developer, I want to use Cursor. I want to make sure that my capabilities, my ecosystem's available within Cursor. And so we released MuleSoft Your Way as an extensible part of our platform so that customers could use our development capabilities in the IDE that they choose. That went GA in June and has been available to customers since then. I also want to shout out Anypoint Code Builder roadmap. And so Anypoint Builder has obviously invested in Dev Agent in getting all those AI capabilities within the product, but we're continuing to invest in the core capabilities within the product. Things like supporting more actions within the UI, parent POM support, which is incredibly critical, custom metadata. There are a number of different elements that we're adding into Anypoint Code Builder, in addition to the AI investments that we're making with Dev Agent. And I will hand it back to Aston to take us to the future.
Thank you. Swap around again. So yeah, very exciting. And like MuleSoft, everyone else in the market is following our lead and releasing their own agents as well. You're seeing this from all of your traditional SaaS apps. You're seeing agents now embedded within LLMs as well. So there's going to be quite literally an explosion, or maybe not literally, quite figuratively, an explosion of agents. So the question then becomes, how do you manage this in times of great change? How are you going to manage having all of these new experiences that you don't necessarily have the muscle memory in terms of managing those incidents? I always like to bring up, when I talk about this, my favorite piece of marketing in terms of a catchphrase: move fast when you break things. This is from Incident.io. We all heard the Zuck, move fast and break things, but I think when things break, you've got to move fast. So yeah, I like to just throw that out there as a mantra. And that's something we're really taking to heart, I think, as well, with a variety of different products to service these incidents that are going to crop up as you onboard, and the kind of the teething issues as all of these new agents become part of your IT infrastructure. And that's coming in kind of two waves, I would say, or I guess three, but yeah, just to what I'm going to be talking about. Agentic troubleshooting, I touched on this a little bit. You're going to be able to, part of the dev agent experience, but also kind of separate within the monitoring capabilities, able to agentically comb through the logs, again, find that needle in the log haystack to understand what's going wrong. If something is, if there is an issue, be suggested a fix and then implement that fix all via, your Slack workflows and just notifications. And so that's very operational, I would say. That's the operational incident management as part of this agentic experience. Then when the dust settles, I think it's also important to learn from those lessons and have more of a strategic view for how you're going to manage these incidents in the future when it comes to how you deploy your IT infrastructure. So we're also creating a bunch of integration intelligence for monitoring agents to be, so you can practically understand how agents are using your different integration and MuleSoft assets, and you can make those proactive decisions about your infrastructure rather than being reactive. And this is all these two parts, they're accessible via Dev Agent, but this is all towards one of our biggest announcements that came out last week, which is MuleSoft Agent Fabric. So this was a major announcement that we released last week around the management of this multi-agent ecosystem, around the discovery, the governance, the observability, all of the factors in managing, as I say, multi-agent. And as you make that transition, the agentic transformation transition, as you move up that agentic maturity curve, it's all about getting you there and the tools that you need to make that transition. And that's the core of the presentation we're going to talk about today. There, I want to flash out some additional resources. These should all be live. This is all going out live right now. So I'm going to hold on this. You can read a blog about the announcement, a blog about the AI research that we've conducted. So you can dive in a little bit deeper and understand all about the AI quality pipeline that we just talked about. You can read the full announcement for MuleSoft Dev Agent, everything we've been talking about today. I would also recommend definitely attending the MuleSoft keynote, which is on day 3 of Dreamforce, or tuning in online as well. There's going to be kind of a broad spectrum look at Dev Agent, Agent Fabric, our entire vision for the agentic future. And then also, if you love this presentation, you can see a more in-depth version of it again. If you attend or watch, me and Mofi will be delivering a version of this at a breakout at 8:45 a.m. first thing on day 2 at Dreamforce. And 8:45 a.m. Can't wait, bright and early. So yeah, exactly. Everyone's going to be there. You're online as well.
But I do want to shout out. Obviously, Dreamforce is great, and excited for any folks who are going to be there. We'd love to say hi once we're there. But do want to shout out the first 2 resources, especially the one around our research. We get a lot of questions from customers about, hey, what are you guys actually doing? Or again, going back to the question about why should I come to you guys instead of just going to ChatGPT? There's a lot of really, really cool, important information within that blog about the types of things we're doing behind the scenes to get quality generations out of LLMs. So highly, highly recommend. And hopefully it helps diffuse any of the doubts or the questions that you folks have around our AI capabilities and what we're trying to do.
Yeah, big shout out to the research. As I said, this is all going live today. It's all we'll do it live. So I'm hoping those QR codes work. And if they didn't, then it's going to be live tomorrow. So just check the blog. They work. They work. I'm getting fabulous. And yeah, in the announcement as well, there's the demo video, produced demo video as well. So if you want a video to share, to highlight this feature, yeah, be sure to check out the announcement too. That is, I'm getting they work in the chat as well. I love that. Cool. And now this is a phrase I have coined, an FAQ&A. So Mofi's going to go through some of the most common questions we get about MuleSoft Dev Agent, and then we're going to transition it into an open Q&A. I think we'll do a little bit of a balance between if there's any in the room, any online, and then yeah, we can close it out. So yeah, Mofi, do you want to take it away?
Yeah, let's rotate one more time
for the final time.
Awesome. Okay. So as Aston mentioned, I'm keeping an eye on the Q&A.
Just use the arrows.
Okay, sounds good. So the first question that I wanted to address, I did a little bit of a preview during the presentation, but what we really directly wanted to address was, how does this fit in with our narrative around third-party AI IDEs like Cursor? And the question is, yes, it fits into our narrative around these AI IDEs. Because what we're seeing is two very clear needs in market, right? Going back to what I said earlier, there are customers who have these AI IDEs like GitHub Copilot and Windsurf and Cursor, and they want our capabilities to be made available in those environments. And great, with MuleSoft Your Way, you get access to everything that you need to develop with Mule in that environment. But there are also customers or folks in the room like who don't want to buy Cursor. I heard this. I won't call out the person who said it, but I heard this right before we started this presentation. And so Dev Agent is the solution for that. If you don't have Cursor or Windsurf, don't want to buy this third-party licensing, it's okay because you have capabilities baked into your AnyPoint platform that solves exactly the same types of problems. So both of them are complementary, and again, truly trying to make sure that we have capabilities for everyone. The second one, because even though we said it earlier, we always get questions. Again, does this require Einstein or Flex credits? No. I was going to open it up for a poll, but it's all good. It does not require Einstein requests or Flex credits. It just requires an Einstein-enabled Salesforce org. Want to really double click on that because, again, we are opening up the way that these capabilities can be used and consumed because we want more people to be able to access them. Another big question we get is what happens to Einstein for AnyPoint Code Builder? Anyone here, have you tried out Einstein for AnyPoint Code Builder? Okay, I see one hand in the room, second hand in the room.
Anyone online? Right.
Okay, so Einstein from AnyPoint Code Builder has evolved to Dev Agent. I hope that was very clear by the demo. And there's lots of reasons that we did that. One, we wanted to create a more powerful experience where your AI agent capability is able to read and edit your files directly. But some of the underlying technology isn't going away. In fact, those AI pipelines that we went through the research on are backing the Dev Agent experience. Dev Agent has access to our AI pipelines to power generations within the environment so that it's able to do things like pull in the right connector dependencies, provide the right namespaces, add in your configurations, make sure that you're using the right operations. All of that is baked into our underlying AI pipelines that are being exposed through Dev Agent. The generative data transformations capability is still available through the UI in AnyPoint Code Builder. That is not changing. It will also be available through Dev Agent, but just wanted to clarify the transition from Einstein from AnyPoint Code Builder or Agent Force for AnyPoint Code Builder to now what we're calling Dev Agent. Another question that we ask or we get a lot is, can I connect my own MCP servers? And the answer to this is absolutely. So as I mentioned earlier, we enable or we provide an MCP server out of the box with Dev Agent. This gives the Dev Agent the ability to connect to your Exchange, your API manager, your runtime manager, so that it can do things like apply policies, create instances, pretty much all the things that you can do on the AnyPoint platform, the Dev Agent can now do and interact with your MuleSoft environment. If customers want to either test MCP servers that they're building with MuleSoft, you can connect that MCP server in Dev Agent. If you just want to use another MCP server that you have outside of MuleSoft, that is also available, and you can connect it into Dev Agent as well. So we've really opened up what Dev Agent is able to do by enabling you to connect your own MCP servers as well. Another question we get sometimes is, can I bring my own LLM or choose my own LLM? And the answer to that for right now is no. So we are still leveraging Salesforce managed or hosted LLMs. And what we do that because we're able to maintain privacy between any prompts that you guys are sending, make sure that no data is retained outside of the Salesforce boundary. So for now, customers cannot choose or build their own LLM. Underneath the hood, we are using foundational LLMs like Claude Sonnet and GPT models. But there's a lot of complexity that we've built on top of those foundation LLMs to power the experiences that you folks are seeing, and you saw in the demo. And one more plug for research, because again, this is probably my pet. There's a lot of assets that we provide as part of this release, but one of my favorite assets is the AI research that we've done. And so one more plug to just check out the research. I'm always here if you folks have any questions. But we did research very objectively with our AI research team, where we were running evaluations using the same use cases, but comparing our capabilities to other competitors. And then all of the research numbers is available in that blog that Aston shared the QR code for.
I'll do another plug as well and say that we're going to do an even more extensive research white paper coming in Q4. Safe harbor, forward-looking statement, but yeah, that's what our plan is, to have an even more extensive research set in Q4. So keep an eye out.
And one other question, do we train on customer data? No. This is a very big no. And we do not train on customer data or ever plan to without explicit opt-in by customers. We take this very seriously for many reasons, obviously. We work with labeling teams, and we also work with a number of different folks internally to create our own proprietary set of data. And that's what we use for any of our training or any of the improvements that we're doing to our AI capabilities. We do not use customer data because we don't want to be using your data to power these AI capabilities. And then I think this should be the last Q&A, but does Dev Agent support Agent Fabric? So how many of you folks saw the Agent Fabric announcement go out? Okay, super cool. So Agent Fabric is a very, very exciting release coming out from MuleSoft. As Aston mentioned, Agent Fabric is a single platform or set of capabilities so that customers can discover, they can orchestrate, govern, and observe or visualize all of the agent interactions that exist within their fabric. And the great thing is that Dev Agent will support Agent Fabric at GA. So this means that with Dev Agent, you're going to be able to create and orchestrate your agents. You're going to be able to publish these orchestrations and deploy them all with Dev Agent as well. So there's more to come later this week on how exactly all of that will happen, but did want to just mention that Dev Agent is going to support Agent Fabric at release.
Cool.
And thank you so much.
I guess we'll get...
Yeah, how do I get to the questions here?
Yeah. So Isabella, I was thinking, why don't you act as a bit of an online narrator for us, if that's okay, to read some questions?
Absolutely. Do we want to start with online questions? Oh, sorry.
You're unmuted now.
Oh, great. Do we want to start with online questions, or do we want to take them from the room?
We'll take them from, why don't we alternate? We'll do one in the room, if there are any. Does anyone have any questions? We got one question at least in the room, so we'll answer that one first. Yeah, we have more questions. Okay, we'll alternate. But yeah, first question, why don't we go with you first, and then we'll switch online.
So, developers still use Anypoint Studio. I can say like 80 to 90% and this Dev Agent is more for basic elements for the studio. So do you have any, it takes time to transition from Anypoint Studio. I myself use both, and I feel like basically we need more improvements to get into action. So is there any, there is other AI agent, like the third-party one called Curated AI, which got a plugin for Anypoint Studio. So is there any plan to have a Dev Agent for the studio itself?
Oh, let me just repeat the question. So
Yeah,
for everyone
sure.
online there, essentially the question was, this is something for ACB. Is there any plan to have this for Studio as well?
Yeah, so there's no current plans to bring Dev Agent to Anypoint Studio. One of the great benefits of the infrastructure that we use in Anypoint Code Builder is that we're able to spin out some of these capabilities really quickly. And so as a result, or as a function of that, Dev Agent is one in Anypoint Code Builder and it's going to be available this Friday. So in short, no, there's not a plan to bring Dev Agent to Anypoint Studio, but we are also very cognizant of the remaining functional gaps between Anypoint Studio and Anypoint Code Builder, which is why I wanted to shout out that roadmap slide, right? Like Dev Agent is definitely one of the big releases that are coming out for October, but we're not ignoring all of the other things that the product needs. And so our ears are opened and we're working to closing that gap so that development can purely happen on Anypoint Code Builder. Yes, it's going to be available both on desktop and on cloud at GA. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, Isabella.
Yeah, that was a popular question online as well. So we'll skip over to the next one. So quick question from Juan Cruz. Will the Dev Agent use the caller/user capabilities to act? For example, will it prevent a user to undeploy/admin an app?
Yes. So Dev Agent only has the permissions that you as a user have, which means that if you're not allowed to deploy an application to a certain environment, Dev Agent will not be able to. So there's kind of two ways to go about it. So if you work with Dev Agent, you don't make any changes to the way that Dev Agent is configured, it will just absorb your permissions as a user, right? So if you have access to certain environments, certain business groups, Dev Agent will have access to the same environments and business groups. If you want to give Dev Agent a separate set of permissions, you can also do that as well. It requires an additional configuration with connected apps, but that's also possible. Go for it.
There are some customers who don't have Salesforce license, they just
Yeah.
use MuleSoft, and how to get this Einstein,
Yes.
Just I'll repeat this for the people online. So it's for customers who don't have Salesforce or Einstein instance. How do you get this capability?
Yeah, so our pricing and packaging team has been working very hard to make it easier to get access to Einstein-enabled organizations. So it hopefully should be much easier than it has been previously. There's multiple different ways and routes to go about it, but there's definitely like clear paths for customers who only have Mule to get access to these Einstein-enabled orgs. Absolutely. Okay.
Anyone else? That was kind of a hybrid. We got okay.
I
guess should we do one online? We'll do another one online, Isabella. Yeah. Sorry.
I wonder if this is a follow-up to that, and maybe you've already spoken to this, but could you just run through really quickly like what licensing looks like? So do people have to make additional purchases to have this feature, or what is that looking like?
Yes. So any Anypoint platform customer, now I'm thinking in terms of SKUs. If any Anypoint platform customer, meaning you have an Anypoint platform subscription, or you have MuleSoft Integration Starter Advanced, will get access to Dev Agent out of the box. If you can build an integration on MuleSoft, you have access to Dev Agent effectively. Dev Agent does, however, require a connection to an Einstein-enabled Salesforce org. So that will be the other prerequisite to getting access to Dev Agent. As I mentioned, there's multiple routes to getting access to that Einstein-enabled org, but our teams have worked really hard to make that much easier for customers. And so it should be relatively straightforward to get you folks that Einstein-enabled Salesforce org.
Edgar, go for it.
All right, just a quick question. And this focus on the for example.
Yeah.
It might get a little bit confusing. At least, I don't know if it's kind of a sure sentiment, but I sometimes I wanted to use it in Cursor, for example. I have Cursor, and I was trying to implement that and use the MCP server. But I got confused on the way that I'm installing the MCP server from the documentation, and I'm just doing actions there. And my question was, is this the right way? Like, there's no like a specific say you are using this way. This is the actual instruction, right? Sometimes I feel like it's like someone else might be exposing that MCP. In this case, I'm not using, but it might be confusing for other folks too. And so like maybe I'm using an MCP, but it's not like the way that I have to use it. Maybe the questions or prompts that I'm putting on Cursor or Wizard, maybe they are not too effective. I tried the Cursor. and it was not too effective at navigating the person correctly, right? So it might get confusing, but I was wondering if there's any way to improve that kind of documentation, or maybe it's on us, like the community, to build and kind of share the experience on the code I kind of created my application.
Just to repeat this.
Let me repeat this one. So the question in the room is, like, when you're using some of these AI capabilities, including MuleSoft your way, how do you know that you're using it the right way? Like, how do you know what the best practices are? How do you know that you're taking the right steps? How do you know you're crafting prompts, right, in the best way? There are lots of questions around, like, how do I get the most value out of these capabilities? I think Edgar in the room had a great point about what are some of the things that we can do as a community to make that better or provide those best practices. There's certain things within the product that we're working on doing to publish best practices, rule sets, things of that nature. So it's much easier to, again, use the capabilities that we are releasing and get the most value from them.
Isabella, anything online?
Sorry, I'm muted. So folks are really eager to get their hands on this. Is it available today? Like, are we launching? What's the timeline looking like?
Yeah, sorry, we should have made this more clear. So it's going to be available on Friday. It's going to launch on Friday to everyone. So from Friday, you folks will be able to get your hands on it and access it. If folks don't yet have access to an Einstein-enabled Salesforce org, you can spin up a developer trial org, and you will get access to Einstein through that as well. So you'll be able to very quickly start testing these capabilities and make use of them.
I just want to ask if this new dev agent is able to write the evidence. Like, for example, in Endpoint Studio, we are giving different mock data, like different JSON files, and we are trying to test if what could be the tentative output if this input is being provided. Like before publishing it in Cloud Hub, and just depending on the errors that comes in staging, we're trying to test it local. So will that dev agent be smart enough to provide us some like guidance on what input data could we give and how much time that data could take, what errors could arise? So it's more like error predictability before pushing the stage on staging and giving it to the UAT to customers.
Yeah, so we won't, sorry, to repeat the question was, will Dev Agent be able to help with proactive error handling? Things like mocking sample input data, some levels of performance testing, understanding how long it'll take for different flows to execute, that sort of thing. So at GA, we won't support that entirely. You should be able to generate mock data based on any metadata that exists within your project that we will support. But we're still evolving the product to support some of those more advanced capabilities like proactive error handling, even mock executions, things of that nature.
Isabella?
Yes. Is there a way to add, so now we're getting really specific in terms of product capabilities, just FYI everyone. So is there a way to add code files, design documents to the context when using the agents?
Yes, there is. And this is one of the awesome additions that we're making from Einstein for Anypoint Code Builder. So during the demo, I admittedly it was very small on the screen, but during the demo, there was a button. And what the button is called is add file context. And this allows you to provide context. And context can come in the form of requirements documents. It can come in the form of a Git repository. It can come in the form of your terminal. So you can add in as much context as you want, feed in as input to the dev agent so that it generates an application or does something using the input that you're providing. That will actually be supported at GA.
Anyone in the room? Want to go on?
So during the demo, you did mention that we could define certain aspects for the agent to follow to develop the code. Likewise, does it even review the code following those instructions?
Yeah, so it will not review the code. So just to repeat the question, in case folks heard, the question was, or didn't hear rather, the question was, will Dev Agent be able to review your application against against rules effectively? And it's a bit nuanced. Yes, Dev Agent can certainly review against the rules that you provided, but there isn't yet a deterministic way to actually evaluate whether it's doing that against the rules. That's something that we're thinking about moving forward, creating effectively a rule set against some of the rules that you're writing in natural language. And then that rule set becomes the evaluation of, is Dev Agent actually doing what you want? Does that make sense?
Yeah, thanks.
absolutely. Yes.
We've got one more in the room. Bear with us.
So when we install already the MCP from MuleSoft,
Yes.
so is that the same MCP server that the Dev Agent is going to use in this case? Now, the question is because I've seen few of the capabilities on the MCP server.
Mhm.
Sometimes I feel like I will need to extend some of those. Like, for example, CloudHub 2.0, we need to look into the logs. And then sometimes it seems like that specific action is not listed, even though I have the permissions.
Yeah.
I can probably see the application, but not pulling logs. Doing something
Yeah.
else. Is that, in that case, we need to create that extension, with own MCP, I assume.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So just to repeat the question was, in the MuleSoft MCP server, can you extend the metadata or the actions within that server? And the answer is no, not directly in that MCP server, but you can build your own MCP server that fetches information that isn't provided. If there is metadata that we're not surfacing for any action, please let us know. Like, we want to support it. So like, we're happy to hear that feedback from this group and include it as part of the official server.
Okay, great. Couple more questions online. So thinking of security here. So when you're using Dev Agent and you require some kind of in this case, a secret to generate the code, for example, have the configuration file hold database passwords, would agents send the plain secret out anywhere over the net, or how can we work with it securely?
Yes, so that's a great question and something that I spend a lot of time thinking about. So within a lot of our capabilities, we try to do masking against credentials and against PII, because this is an important problem, and we don't want to be sending any data, even if it is maintained within the Salesforce boundary, to LLMs. But if the data isn't masked, if the PII or credentials aren't masked, then at the very least, all of the data does get maintained in Salesforce. The LLM vendor will not retain any of this information, so that's also extra assurance that it's not going anywhere.
Okay, great. One more from online, or do we have more in person?
Yeah, let's do one more online. We've done a few in person, so.
Okay, is Dev Agent tested for effectiveness of data weave transformations for legacy XMLs with deep nested and complex structures?
Yes, and I will send you a blog that goes through exactly what we did for data weave. We spent a lot of time on data weave. We support any of the formats that are supported within the data weave language, including XML, because that is one that a lot of customers love to deal with. And I say that sarcastically in case anyone didn't pick that up. But yes, we have tested Dev Agent against it. The great thing about data weave is that it's also very easy to evaluate the correctness of data weave scripts, right? Like, I run my data weave script against the input. Does the output match the expected output, right? So it's a very clear-cut, objective way that we've measured the effectiveness, and we certainly have, and I can share details about some of that research as well.
Great.
Cool.
Oh,
We have some questions in the room.
okay, great.
Yeah.
So I just want to understand if I can provide a context of a checklist to the agent and if it can validate the application against it. Like if the specific rule set is present or not.
Yeah.
Not that I have to implement the rule set, but then if it's present or not, if it can give me an idea if it is good to go for the
Right.
So that is possible with the dev agent that will make development very easy.
Yes. So the question was a reference to one earlier. Can Dev Agent check my application against a production ready checklist? And I'll say the same response as earlier. It's a yes and a no. So yes, we can definitely evaluate your application against the production checklist. But we wanted to take it a step further and make it a bit more deterministic, right? Because an agent evaluating whether or not you've met production ready can sometimes be a bit nuanced or ambiguous. So what we want to introduce is rule sets effectively, so that it's much more deterministic whether or not the application actually meets the production ready checklist. So we will do that at GA, but we want to evolve that a bit further so that it's more deterministic whether or not the application actually meets the checklist that you define.
So you're saying that the decision making dev agent might differ based on status that I provide. And instead of like doing dynamic checklist validation, you just want to provide a best practice set that
We want to be able to translate any of the requirements that you have into a rule set, right? That can run through a rules engine so that if it passes the checklist, you know with certainty, right? It passes the checklist. So that's where we want to go. But for now, yes, Dev Agent can certainly do the difference or the comparison against the checklist that you provide. Is another question in the room?
As a developer, I spend a lot of time in troubleshooting and finding errors.
Yeah.
In the log file, endpoint platform is saying roadmap to have Dev Agent in logs so that I can talk to the logs files directly to the Dev Agent,
Yeah.
not by searching line by line codes and
Yeah.
looking for the cat keys and looking for that specific error.
Yeah, so the question was, will Dev Agent allow me to not search through logs, but just make it easier to troubleshoot when I have an issue? And so at October, at Dreamforce, we're going to release something called that Acid Introduce, which was a diagnostic capability in Runtime Manager. And what it will allow you to do is diagnose issues within your logs. It'll do all of that search, all of that processing, and then it will surface, okay, based on all of these logs, here are the 3 issues, right, that we think. It's called Diagnostic Agent, and it will be in Runtime Manager. So we'll have that in October at Dreamforce for all of our customers. In addition to the diagnostics experience in Runtime Manager, we do want to bring troubleshooting directly within Dev Agent, so that if, for instance, it requires you to redeploy your application or make changes to the application, those changes can also be automatically done post-diagnoses. And so that's going to be coming in Q4 later this year.
Isabella, anything online?
Oh, got quite a few. So I do want to recognize we might not be able to get to every single question today, but if you all are a part of our MuleSoft Slack workspace, you can definitely post there and I can relay any unanswered questions to our team here for future reference. But for now, is there any plan for, sorry, here we go. Can Dev Agent support or generate Java code when we use Java connector and or complex SQL statements when we use DB connector?
Dev Agent can certainly generate both Java and SQL. Dev Agent is also going to support connector generation. If anyone is familiar with Universal Connectivity or Universal Connector Builder, it's a new initiative that we're launching to make it easier for customers to build custom connectors on the platform. So that capability will be launching in November. And so Dev Agent will also support that later this year.
Does that place an effort in connecting like REST APIs?
Sorry, can you repeat your question?
For example, if we are using anything as any third-party connector, and that connector is outdated, part of the code,
Mhm.
so we have to use REST APIs to connect.
Mhm.
So will that universal connector is that going to solve that issue?
Yes, it should. It should. Effectively, you'll be able to generate a connector for any using the API specification, right? Using that same REST API specification, but it makes it much easier to consume, right? Because you're not thinking about things like how do I format my data, how do I structure my data, pagination, etc. All of that is accounted for within the connector. That is coming in November. Question in the room?
So, integrate with the existing CI/CD
Yeah, so right now we don't have direct integration with some of those CI/CD tools, and we're being very careful about it because we don't necessarily want to introduce non-determinism into your CI/CD. So there's a fine line to be broached there, but we are thinking about different ways in which we can incorporate some of these capabilities into CI/CD, especially when it comes to things like troubleshooting, for instance. So nothing yet, but I'd look out for things on that front.
Take one more question from online, Isabella.
Yeah,
and then
one
we can...
more question from online, and we'll close out here so you all can enjoy, if you haven't already, some pizza and some mingling. I know I just sent Eddie on a quick mission to bring one more person up, so we will want to get a group photo of those of you in person. For those that are still online, one last question here. I think you did speak to this a little bit, but maybe just to really drive the point home. Is there any plan for standardizing templates for MuleDev? Will there be spec-driven development templates that work better for Dev Agent?
Yes, so we're gonna release a couple of things over the next couple of weeks. So first, we will release our own best practice or rule set, and this is the expertise of a bunch of architects within Mule coming together to provide Dev Agent with the best practices across use cases, across verticals, so that the applications that you folks are getting on the other end are as high quality as possible. In addition, we will also allow customers to centrally define their own rules. So for instance, if my organization wants to make sure that, again, every application has a certain authentication scheme, or every application contains a certain error handling, or every application uses a certain pattern, you'll be able to define those at your application level, and then that will be fed into Dev Agent for all of the developers within your org. So we'll provide it at those two levels.
Awesome.
Alrighty.
All right.
Thank you so much,
Thank
folks,
you so
for hanging
much.
on.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, those of you in person, to our presenters for managing, I think, one of our most successful hybrid sessions to date. For everyone who joined us online, we're so grateful for you all for tuning in. Some of you, it's like 11 o'clock at night your time. We're so grateful for you. And for those of you in person, I'm so sad I didn't get to see you, but thank you for being there. Please enjoy your evening, and we look forward to our next session.
Thanks so much.
Cheers.
Yeah, enjoy. Bye, everyone.
Appreciate it.